In this lesson, we are going to talk about the application of what you learned in previous unit, which were the series. The first thing that we are going to talk about is what we call a simple interest. Before I start talking about the simple interest, let me just explain a couple of definitions here. The first thing is the money that you are going to invest or the money that you borrow, we call it the principal. So if you invest $1,000 or if you borrow $5,000, that $1,000 or the $5,000 is called the principal. The next thing is called the annual interest rate. First of all, annual by definition means every year, yearly. So this term annual means every year. And the interest rate that you have to either pay or you receive is expressed as a decimal number. For instance, if the interest rate is 7%, if you remember, percent means division by 100, so it's going to be 7 divided by 100, which is going to be 0.07. Now the next definition is called the amount, or what you can call an amount as the future value, is what are you going to get at the end of the time period that you either deposit the money or you get a loan. This amount is going to be the initial investment or the principal plus the interest which is accumulated in your account. Now there are two types of interest that we are going to deal with in this unit. One is called the simple interest and the other one is compound interest. The simple interest, as the name stands for, is very simple. It's going to be the interest which is accumulated on your initial principal. For instance, if you deposit let's say $100 in an account for, let's say, 10 years, the simple interest, the interest on $100. So after 1 year, it's going to be the interest which is accumulated over the $100, and then another year is passed. Still, the interest that you will receive here after 2 years is based on $100. The third year again based on the $100, and so forth. So in a simple way of saying it, you are not going to get interest on interest. You will see later on in the next video, when we talk about compound interest, you are going to get interest on interest. But anyway, in a simple interest, the amount of interest that you are going to get on a principal of P over time period of T with an interest rate of R is given by I is equal to PRT. Again, this is P principal, which is the initial investment. R is the interest rate in decimal value, and T is the amount of time. Now, if you want to know what is the money in your account after T years, then you have to say that the amount, let's call that one with A, is going to be the initial investment, which is P, plus the amount of interest, which is PRT. And then I can factor out P, so I get P is 1 plus RT. This is the amount formula for a simple interest account. The first example, it says how much interest is earned if $1,200 is invested at 5% per year, simple interest for 3 years. First of all, if you look here, it says simple interest, then we know that the interest is PRT. That's the amount of interest. We know that P is $1,200. Your interest is 5%, in decimal is 0.05 times T. T is 3 years. Now, if you multiply this one, it's going to be $180. The next example says how much interest is paid if $400 is borrowed at 8% per annum. Simple interest for 7 months. Now, annum here means every year. So we know that the interest rate is 8% per year. And it's simple interest because of the phrase here for 7 months. So the amount of interest I is equal to PRT. P is $400 times R. R is 0.08 per year times 7 months. But 7 months we have to change it to a year, and we know every year is 12 months, so 7 months is 7 over 12 years. So this is the amount of time here. If you multiply this one, you get it's $18.67. The next example says how much interest is earned if $900 is invested at 4.25% annual simple interest for 90 days. Again, I is PRT, which is going to be 900 times 4.25%, so it's 4.25 divided by 100 in decimal, times 90 days. A year is 365 days, so 90 days is 90 over 365 years. This is the fraction of the year. If you multiply this one together, you get about $9.43. The next example, we have Jeremy, which deposits $500 into a guaranteed investment certificate that earns 6% per year simple interest. The first part, we have to come up with a linear model to relate the amount to time. Identify the fixed part and the variable part, and then graph the function. Okay, we know that this is a simple interest, so the interest part, I, is PRT. The initial investment is $500 times R is 6%, so 6 over 100 times T. Now, if you multiply these two together, we are going to get 30T. Now, the amount, which is the future value, if you call it A, is the initial amount, which is 500, plus the interest, 30T. Now, the 500 is the fixed part, and the 30T is going to be the variable part. Now, it also asks us to plot this expression. First of all, we are going to denote the horizontal axis as T and the vertical as A. We can see that the y-intercept, or the a-intercept in this case, which is the fixed part, is going to be 500, so this is our 500. Now we are going to give another point. Let's say when t is 1, meaning 1 year, then a is going to be 500 plus 30 times 1, which is going to be 530. Let's assume this is 530. Then if you connect these 2 points, you're going to get a linear graph like the one which is shown. The next part of the question says, how long will it take for the investment to double? We know the investment is 500. We want to find time so that A becomes 1,000. And the equation was 500 plus 30T. So we move 500 to the left. I get 1,000 minus 500 is 500 is equal to 30T. Divide by 30. We get T is approximately 16.67 years. The next part of the question says, what annual rate of interest must be earned so that the investment doubles in 8 years? Okay, since this is a simple interest, we know that A is equal to P plus PRT. We know that now we want double the investment, so it's two times 500, which is $1,000. The initial investment is 500. Again, P is 500 times R times T. T is 8. So I'm going to get 1,000 is equal to 500 plus 8 times 500 is going to give me 4,000 R. I move 500 to the left, I get 500. 1,000 minus 500 is 500 is equal to 4,000 R. So R is going to be 500 divided by 4,000, which is going to be equal to 0.125 or 12.5% interest per year. The next question says, looking at the following graph which shows an investment earning simple interest, what is the principal? Remember, the principal is the initial investment, and you can see that the initial investment in this case is $500, which is your y-intercept. The next question says, what is the annual interest rate? Annual interest rate is the slope of the line. So we have to find the slope of the line. To do that one, we are going to pick 2 points. Let's say the first point that I am going to pick is this one with the coordinate 0 and 800. And I'm going to pick this point, which is going to be with the coordinate 5 and 1,000. So the slope or the interest rate is going to be y2, 1,000 minus y1, 800, divided by x2 minus x1. So it's going to be 200 over 5, which is going to be 40. Now it says write an equation to relate the amount of the investment to time. Remember the equation of a line in general, y is equal to mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. In our case, y is really amount, slope we found is 40, x here is really time, t, plus the y-intercept is the initial value, which we said was $800. So the equation becomes A is 40t plus 800.